You're listening to the Ball Talk podcast with me, Ryan Bailey. This podcast is brought to you by Adapt Athletic Performance and Therapy. Head over to Instagram and give them a follow at adapt_clinic. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe or follow button as well. Without further ado, let's get straight into the podcast. Right, so this is episode number 63 of the Ball Talk podcast, as always brought to you by Adapt Athletic Performance and Therapy. And today I am here at GRG Sports with Shairoze and Cian. Lads, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having us.
How's life treating you?
Going well, yeah. Nice to be opening up and getting back to football and stuff, so looking forward to the summer.
So we're here in the GRG Sports shop. As you can see around us, you can't really see it on camera, but there's plenty of stock here and with a nice backdrop here as well. How did GRG come about, and if you want to dip in your own time as well and tell me how you got involved yourselves?
So GRG came about being a player ourselves, I suppose. We seen a market there for gear locally, and then having contacts in Asia, Pakistan and China. That's where the first interest came about, and then Cian coming home from Australia brought his own experiences from the AFL and gear out there, and then Tom obviously being involved with Mayo and playing international rules with Ireland brought another opportunity. So we put our heads together and we tried to incorporate something, and we didn't know where it'd go. And 3.5 years later, we're sitting here with you in the premises. So it's progressed, I suppose.
Yeah.
Not sure if you want to add anything on that.
Yeah, I suppose we're all involved with Mayo as well at the time. And I remember we were away in Laois somewhere, or Carlton Hotel.
Carlton
House, that's the one. And three of us met up and we were all chatting about designs and gloves designs and how it could grow. I suppose that was the first real time the three of us sat down and really planned it. And then from there we've just been growing ever since. So yeah. And
like them initial ideas as well, were you going to fellas even like on the paddle as well, and they're kind of like, geez, these fellas are daft. And then all of a sudden you're putting in the first order, they're like, oh no, they're actually serious about this.
Yeah. I mean, I know yourself with Ross Egan, we were kitting out the under-20s then with gloves, and then Eddie McGuinness with Tupper Curry socks and gloves. They were nearly the first few orders, and then from there it started to grow legs, and yeah.
And then leading on to getting this premises here. So like before you had, how long were you in here?
We're here, we'll be a year here now in the next 2 months.
So before that, were you just working out of home and there was a room sacrificing the house for all the gear, and that was it?
Yeah, I suppose it was my garage we were working from.
Okay.
So the pool table was covered over and we'd boxes up on that.
That was a progression too. Like we started off, it was stored under my stairs for a couple of months, and then we just had too much stuff that didn't fit under the stairs anymore. So we progressed on to Cian's garage and we had a little bit more space. But again, it was chaotic in a sense.
Yeah.
But we had to make it work, and we made it work, I suppose.
Yeah, and then I suppose moving in here then last lockdown, this used to be a sports shop maybe 5-6 years ago.
Egan's, is it?
Egan Sportswear, yeah. So we used to come in and get our uniforms and our gloves back then, and we loved the window. So the idea first was just to use the window as advertising, then we seen the space and we thought there was an opportunity there to progress from the garage to the shop. So it's been a work in progress, but yeah, it's going well.
And like the advantage as well of being from Mayo, and it's like everyone knows across the country, even across the world, the support that the people of Mayo have for the football team and anyone that has interest in football in the county as well. Like I'm sure you got a good backing from like primarily your own club in Balladreen, but from the county itself to push on and make a really go of it.
Definitely, yeah. I think one of the very first clubs to give us an opportunity were Belmullet. Like at the time, we hadn't done a lot of work in sportswear. We were mostly doing socks, shorts and gloves. So I think they took a leap of faith, and 3 years later they're still one of our bigger customers. So it goes to show like that we were given the opportunities by the Mayo people and especially Mayo clubs, and we've had to take them with both hands, and we've luckily done that.
Yeah, and I'm supposed to add to that as well. At the start, they were taking the leap of faith and putting trust in us. But then over time we've started to back up the quality and also the service as well. So at the start it was nearly the local club giving us a chance.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're starting to get to a level that we're happy with our quality and our service.
Again, adding to that one more time, along with the quality and service, I think we're in a position to give something back to the clubs.
Yeah.
So we actually do a kickback scheme at the moment,
Okay.
where for all the major orders with the club get a percentage back, if it's in cash back or if it's in percentage in gear with us.
Yeah.
So they can build that up over the course of the year with the number of orders that they do with us.
Okay.
So they're getting a little revenue stream as well. So we're lucky to be in a position to do that for clubs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's paying off dividends for some of the clubs that have done it.
Yeah. And you look at the clubs as well, like for however many years now, O'Neill's has been the dominant one and still is in the GA itself.
Yeah.
Like even with you look at the pricing, how are you able to actually, and now I know O'Neill's have the name itself and the 3 stripes are iconic and people will pay a bit more for that, but how do you battle that?
I suppose coming up with figures, this is the man here with the brains behind that. But yeah, O'Neill's is the top. They've been around forever. Even I know we talked the other day about the Adidas story where they tried to get into Kerry and O'Neill's quickly wiped them out. I think my brother has a jersey at home in number 9, Adidas Retro Kerry jersey, which was one of only like one set made. But yeah, no, O'Neill's are the top, but we found there's a lot of competitors in our area. You've O'Reilly's and MFC and there's other companies around the country, and I suppose O'Neill's up here and the rest of us then are trying to compete with each other. But yeah, I'm not sure then in terms of prices.
Like the market is huge. What we found is the market is huge, but then like clubs, like local clubs, our bordering clubs are huge customers for us, but to O'Neill's they're a small fish. So the customer service that O'Neill's were providing compared to the customer service we provide, I think that's helped us a lot. Like we'll actually go down and do fittings in the clubs and stuff, so I think that's helped us a huge amount, where it's our customer service that's helping initially, and then our pricing is very competitive. Like with us, you can end up getting 2 products for the price of 1 product from O'Neill's, so I think everyone's winning. We're making a bit on it, the customers themselves are getting it cheap, and then the club are getting a revenue stream, so all 3 people are being looked after, and that's what we're trying to do, you know.
Yeah, it's more personal, like.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just to keep actually on the name itself, so who's taking credit for coming up with the name on it?
Oh. I don't even know, to be honest. Like initially we put pen to paper and we were throwing stuff at the paper, and
were there many bad ones?
I'd say some of the ones were ridiculous. I'd love to still have the sheet if we'd kept it now. It'd be funny to go through it. But some of the stuff we put on paper now was, looking back, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, like we evolved as well. Like we started off and we were like game ready gear, and now we've turned ourselves. We're pushing more towards the GRG sports. Just seems a bit more fitting for what we're doing. But then the idea behind it was game ready gear was teams are out there putting in the hard work, and we want them then while they're training to look well and then get themselves ready for games. When they come game day, they're looking and feeling good, because obviously the gear is a big part of club football and even sports and organisations in general. So I suppose that's where it started, but we're going towards the GRG sports side now.
Sports side, but at the same time we'd like to be GRG, because we don't want to be just associated with sports. Like we're doing clubs and organisations, you've got for all your clubs, but then we're getting into companies as well, like Allergan. We've done a few bits for Allergan, so companies like that we can cater for as well. And then workwear, so it's not all just sports, it's bespoke apparel for anyone and everyone that needs it.
It's sticking on that as well. Like the first time that someone, like as you said, a company such as Allergan or whoever it may be that came to you, was that like a light bulb moment where you're like, we're not just sports, or we can go into another branch here, or was that always something that you had in the back of your mind as well?
A bit of both. Like we knew we could branch into it, but we knew our bread and butter was GA and sportswear initially, having the background and having the experience in it. So we wanted to stick with that and get our strengths right first of all, and then expand rather than diving too deep into everything.
I suppose those companies as well have sports teams. So we were looking at those companies thinking they have Gaelic teams and Abbey V now, but Allergan at the time were doing a marathon. So we then did
Okay.
training jerseys and wind cheaters. So it was still sportswear stuff what we were doing, but it was
Yeah.
catered to the company.
Yeah.
And now we've started to see the GLAs and the workwear side of it. So it was more the sports side to get in, and now we're starting to push into the obviously apparel then side of it.
Yeah. I know I'm firing questions at you as well. I don't. It's not like an interrogation. I don't just actually on, like, you come from where you are, three and a half years. You're in the business, and then a year here as well. Was like when you went from the very start, was it a play it by ear sort of thing, see how we go, or did you set targets that, you know, by year 3 we're going to be in like have our own sort of hub?
We would have had targets, but it's hard to know at the time. Like, you could sit down and you could plan for the next 5 years, but it's great having a plan until you can actually go and hit them targets and achieve it. And then you need to get, I suppose, the opportunities, and then there's the luck side of the thing. You know, like, you need to get that bit of luck. But what I mean by luck is, like, if clubs or customers have a bad experience with other suppliers, then we get the opportunity. If somebody's happy with what they're getting, we never get that opportunity. So I think there's a bit of everything involved. That's my view on it.
Yeah, I suppose at the start as well, I think I was 21, you were 20. It was our first time setting up a business, so it was, to a certain degree at the start, we were making it up as we went along, but then we quickly learned, and then with the help of Tom and experience he has, we then started to work on our plan. And yeah, it's been working so far. So.
And the fact that the 2 year have done masters, or in the process of doing masters as well. Okay.
So I finished my undergrad. I'm doing a master's this year, and then I like Keen talk on his.
And I'm doing an undergrad, so I've just finished my first year.
Okay.
So I went back as a mature student this year. After being away and coming home, took me a while to actually settle down.
He's a late bloomer. We won't hold that against him.
Yeah, so I'm doing an undergrad in business management, and I have 1 year done of 4.
Okay. So it's all interconnected in the business side of things, though.
Yeah.
Just going off some of the questions that were sent in by people as well, trying to intertwine them into this. We've seen it a lot, probably over the last year, and I think maybe COVID has brought it around too, that people have more time to set up these mini companies. Sustainable clothing and vintage clothing is a big thing now. What's your stance on that, with that and fast fashion and the whole, you know, sort of better sort of sustainable sort of side of things as well?
I think the environment is a huge part now, especially young people. They're really conscious. So that's one area that we really need to focus in on. At the moment with COVID, we wanted to stick to our strengths and keep stuff going the way it was going, and work and play to our strengths. That is an area that we do look forward to working in and getting more and more sustainable. But then some of the stuff we have done, like we've a lot of old stuff there. Like, you talk about vintage shops. What we're trying to do is get that stuff. Let's say it's jerseys from let's say Tourist Strand that we weren't happy with, that couldn't be used for whatever reason. We've then decided to go give them to schools rather than just throwing them out. So they're getting used rather than being wasted. Yeah. That's my side on it. And Cian, I'll let you add.
Yeah, I suppose Tom as well is good at that. We're always looking to grow. And like Shairoze said, like, our bread and butter is being the t-shirts and everything else, but it is an opportunity and a market there that we might look into. But again, we don't want to go rushing into it. But over time we might look into that. And
it's even like, and we'll touch on COVID as well, as much as we're trying to pull away from talking about it. It's with that, and even the sustainable clothing side of things, is about adapting as well into it, I suppose, too.
Yeah, I suppose, well, COVID, for us, we moved into our premises during COVID.
Yes.
So obviously business was affected, but it gave us a good opportunity to actually work on ourselves and nail down some roles. We took on 2 employees, moved into the premises, and I suppose it's been tough, because obviously sports wasn't going, but at the same time it's nearly been a blessing as well. It's given us time to reflect and nearly work on ourselves. So now when things start to open up, we're ready to go. And so the vision for this place when COVID is a distant memory and we can actually come back into shops, do you want to have this do you want to keep it the way it is, or do you want to open up like have a sportswear shop in here that people can come in off the street?
So this is something we're in debate we're debating over. We don't have a definitive answer yet,
Okay.
but we're again, this is my vision of it. Keane might completely disagree with me here. What we look to do is use it as an office space and storage, but then open it up maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, where we have people can walk in and buy whatever they need. But then most of the time, like, there's people in here, and then if anyone ever needs anything, they just knock on the door and they know we're in here, so we are able to cater for them. That's how I see it. Again, we haven't. This is not set in stone or anything.
Yeah.
So
No, I think you're right. But even like I said, all of our stuff is old stock. Whereas we've people knocking on the door looking for valves for ball pumps, table tennis balls, like a wide range, even shin guards. So again, that's something we've never done. So we might look into and explore that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's definitely something we might look into.
Yeah.
But then we're actually trying to branch into the uniform side of things. So we've done PE uniforms for Ballyvary, and we're in Ballymote Secondary School this year. So like hopefully we can get into Nathies, our local school here, whether that's with PE uniform, and then might actually try and get in the route of actual uniforms as well.
Okay.
There is that history here where Egan's actually supplied the uniform, and
Yeah.
this was a sports shop, so there is that history there,
Yeah.
and something we can actually take advantage of,
Yeah.
and use to our benefit.
Because just on that too, like if you're saying to open up once a week, you can't have, let's say you supply let's say 100 club teams. You can't just have one jersey of every club in it. You've got to have like just a plain top with the GRG logo on it, whether that be a jersey or some sort of jumper or something. Like, do you find do a lot of people just buy the plain stuff, or is it majority teamwear sort of stuff that they buy?
I suppose we mainly pushed into the teams, and then at Christmas we opened up a pop-up shop and we sold our generic stuff, and that went really well. So there's definitely a market there, but I suppose we're a border town between Gertrude, French Park and Ballahadreen, so you've Mayo, Roscommon and Sligo, and then you've even Erogue out the road, so there's 4 or 5 different clubs.
Yeah.
And then our ranges go from age 3 to 4 up to 3XL, so trying to cater all our different products, all the different sizes, I don't think it's going to be possible. So then we're like, stock wise, we might keep some smalls and mediums. And then even the retro Sligo jerseys and Mayo jerseys, they're a big seller. But I think the generic route is probably the way to go. And especially then when the clubs see the quality and they're happy with them, it might just push those out a bit more.
I know Balladreen is where you're from, but it's an ideal spot to set up in. As you said there, you're a border town of 3 counties, so you have, even though you're right beside Sligo, you've got the whole of Sligo to branch into, and the same with Mayo and Roscommon as well.
Yeah,
I haven't gone to school there. Like, a lot of our friends, they came from Charlestown, Kilmavee, Lissacull, Loughlin, Gertrude, French Park, Ballinagare. So like that's 6 or 7 clubs within a 10-mile radius, and we have connections. Haven't gone to school in Nathies, so we try and use that to our advantage to get into the club.
Yeah.
It's good to have a connection there rather than shooting a bit in the dark, going to the chairman's straight away. So that kind of helps at time. So we try and utilise that.
Yeah.
And then from there try and branch out into the county. So like we've gone as far as Tubbercurry, Curry, and even yourselves in Torlestrand. So the next step would be to go a bit further into Sligo, and same with Mayo and Roscommon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where would be the furthest away that you've done gear for a team?
We've done stuff in America, Scotland, England, and then in Ireland we've done bits all over the country too. So
Because Shamrock's up.
Cavan,
Yeah.
We're doing bits of
Shockland and Meath.
Dublin,
Right.
Lucan.
There was Shannon Gales in County Clare.
Like we've done a bit throughout Ireland, and then a good bit in Scotland and England and Manchester, and then we done McBride's in America as well a couple of years back. So there's always a lot of ad hoc stuff that comes in and out. But then like a lot of our stuff is done club shops and catering for the whole club rather than just a one-off order.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to go down and push.
Yeah. Is it all like Gaelic football and hurling teams or is there soccer teams in it as well? Or?
We've done a bit of soccer. We've done futsal for a club in Wicklow, I think it was. I can't remember the name of the club. This is going back 3 years now. So we've done a bit. Like we've broken into the local tennis club in Ballahadreen.
Okay.
We've done the Claremorris Tennis Club. So we are actually trying to go down the route of different sports. At the moment, we're working on rugby. We've a few connections in rugby. So again, that's completely specialised for the sport, so you need to get it right before you put something out there.
Yeah.
So we're going to put our time and effort into getting it right first before we put it out there.
It says a lot about the business too, like about the business that you have, that you're three lads that are known for Gaelic football, yet the rugby and the soccer and even the futsal of all things as well, that they're looking to you as well, because they might look, it's handy enough for, let's say, a rugby team to look to a brand that is endorsed or sponsoring a rugby player, but they're coming to you because, and it says a lot for the stuff that you're producing as well.
Yeah, like we want to cater for all sports, like basketball was another big thing. We're working on that, so we have a few samples there. Like, we don't want to be just associated with, they're 3 GA lads and they're just GA clubs. We want to be all sports and companies, workwear.
I suppose to add to that as well, it'd be rude not to mention him, is Billy Maguire. So he has his own company, Shinnock Media. We brought him on board, helping us out with our social media, and he's just transformed us as well. In terms of our posts, even just reaching a bigger market, even then just throwing ideas at us of new products and new lines and new ranges. He's really helped us too.
Yeah, it'd be rude not to mention the card he's played, actually. Good job you got him in there.
Nice, good.
But even like from building from day one, like social media, just the power that it has. Could you imagine trying to set up a business, or even like even myself setting up a podcast, trying to set it up 5-10 years ago without Instagram being the main one, because Instagram's where you can show what you have as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been possible, to be honest. I know there's a lot of stuff to get through word of mouth, but social media, the power of social media is huge. And like a lot of our stuff, people have been able to see it through social media. Like I mentioned stuff abroad, like that was all through social media and stuff, so I think it would have been, I'm not going to say it would have been impossible, I'd say it would have been a lot more difficult. It would have been a challenge in itself.
Yeah. And then, so every order that we got, we used to order in extra, medium or large, and then we should throw it on ourselves for the pictures. We've evolved now, so it used to be me against a white wall or Shairoze taking a picture, crop our head out, whereas now we have our mannequins and we're somewhat more in line with what we should be doing. But
being able to use Photoshop, like Billy being able to do the Photoshop and the editing skills, like whereas we'd crop our head out and whereas lighting and stuff, so we've progressed quite a bit, so
I'd say you made a lot of masks over the last year and a half.
Yeah. I remember the first time, because at the start it was a brand new thing, and I was up at the field and we got Andy some for his business, Andy Moore, and he was like, "Oh, you going doing the mask thing?" We were like, "Yeah, sure, we'll give it a go." And then that was the start of then obviously the year that we've just had now being compulsory. But again, I suppose as it went on, people then wanted bigger ones and adjustable ones. So we've adapted to that. So ones with strings. But we've a good stock there now that we might just start handing out, because
hopefully we don't need masks for too much longer.
True. Like we touched on it there a few minutes ago, like we were on about business plans and that. I know with COVID you couldn't ever forecast that coming. Like, do you remember the initial thought when COVID hit, for your thought for the business? Do you think that obviously it has been a challenge, but going from the very start of it?
It was a huge challenge, actually. We were very, very quiet for, I'd say, from March till about June or July. We had a couple of orders in that everything had to be put on hold because the whole world pretty much went into shutdown and it was lockdowns and stuff. So that was a difficult period. But then over that period, we were given a chance to work on some of our stuff, work on little things like zips and the finer details. So we were able to get them right, and then in that period we were all at home, so we came across this premises. We had to put in a lot of work in this premises, like people go on about the challenges. We actually took a huge leap of faith, took on the premises, took on 2 employees in that lockdown period, so people might think we're daft, but we're still here, so happy with how it went. It's a challenge, but we're ready to embrace it and take it and see where it goes.
So what's the plans for the next while so for GRG? What's the future holding?
I suppose that's what we're sitting down and discussing now. My brother's actually home from America, and he has his 2 gyms over there in Florida. So he's giving us some business advice. Tom has obviously got a new role in Dublin with the GPA. So again, there's loads of new challenges, and we're going to sit down now and try and plan as we kind of come out of COVID. So we're unsure yet, but we're
The general direction and plan would be to again expand further in Connacht, and then we're
Yeah.
trying to break into the Leinster and Dublin market. So
Yeah.
that is one of our goals and targets over the next couple of months to a year.
Yeah, it makes sense with the size of clubs up there as well.
Exactly.
They're huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You touched on there, Cian, about your brother having the gyms in Florida and giving you business advice.
Yeah.
We spoke about O'Neill's and how you mentioned the likes of O'Reilly's as well, and different sports brands like yourselves trying to break through that glass ceiling and get up towards O'Neill's. It's a competitive market around this level? Is it a market that everyone's kind of in the one boat and rowing in together, and everyone's, like competitive, but competitive in a good way? Or would you have much contact with the rest of them at all?
No contact, to be honest. I don't think like the market you're in, you're competing with them to get into clubs and stuff. So
Yeah.
like we'd have no contact. I'm not sure about other guys, but
Yeah, and I suppose because O'Reilly's or Donegal, a few of them they seem far away.
Yeah.
But then when you go down 10 minutes down the road and they're kitting the club out, you then know that they're a
They're
direct
here.
competitor. Yeah. But yeah, like we're a border town, so Connacht being where we're from, we'd love to branch out and not take over, but try and do as well as we can there. And then obviously Shairoze being up in Dublin. But yeah.
What would be your favourite bit of clothes that you made? Is there any one bit that stands out in your head now? You're like, that's top, like. Because I know for myself the jackets, and a lot of people that actually order them, the kind of puffer jackets with the thermal sort of sleeves on them, they go down very well from what I see, anyways.
Yeah.
they would be one of the big ones. My favourite product, I would say though, is one that we haven't released yet. It's a very light kind of a quarter zip.
Okay.
To put into comparison, I compared to kind of the ones with Under Armour, the really, really thin ones, the lighter type of material. So we hope to launch that soon, but that would be my favourite piece of kit so far. There are obviously other products I love, but that would be the one that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I suppose for me is I can't really look past our recent order for Ballahadreen. I suppose they've stuck with us a while, and the gear we've just done, our quality is always improving, and our attention to detail, like obviously we're learning from our first ever order, but we just started doing like laser crests, and just everything looks so clean. So we just got an all black kit with white stripes, and everyone rocked up to the game yesterday, and it just, you're looking at it, So I was happy with that. The skinnies in the round neck now was a good look.
Yeah. So like if you're looking on at another team doing that, and even though it's your gear, you're like, geez, that is, it's good to see. But when it's your own club with your own name on it and your own club crest on the gear, you're like, that's
yeah, it was nice.
Well, even going up to Belmullet would be one of our main clubs or one of our main customers. So we went up, and obviously we looked the part, but then you looked across and you're kind of seeing if the guys are wearing the gear. It's like you're meant to be doing a walk and concentrating on the game, and then you're looking across. Oh, there's people actually wearing supporters and players, so it was good to see.
It was even Ballyvarry that time we went over, and all the kids came walking out in their PE tracksuits. I think it was we were over for dropping samples over for t-shirts, but the junior infants were walking out playing their twin whistle outside, and they were all like in their matching uniforms. I was like, geez, that looks so cool.
You're all a little army.
Yeah, just driving around, like you could be driving around randomly through some town, and you'll spot something. Oh, we've done that. And it mightn't be a place that you've actually directly supplied gear to, but there's somebody wearing it. Like we've done t-shirts for the Mayo ladies, Mayo LGFA, about 2 years ago, and you wouldn't miss them, like kind of a luminous colour.
Yeah.
And in the summer months, you'd be driving through randomly some town, and there's somebody wearing it. You're like, we done that, So it's a proud moment, as I put it. So it's cool.
Yeah. Well, look, lads, I think that wraps it up. Thanks a million for having me up here to do the podcast with you, and hopefully we get to chat again soon.
Yeah.
No problem at all. Look forward to hearing it back.
No, thanks for having us. I suppose as well with the gear, as well, you've come through us as well, so we hope everyone that's listening got his jackets, you like them, and we look to team up again.
Perfect, thanks for
Thanks.